Greetings everyone, my name is Napoleon Complex, I go by Ludendorff on the Slowler forums, and welcome to another video in my Galatian Faction Spotlight series. So this is a Galatian 280 to 63 BC, and this time, for comparison's sake, I am taking it up against another warband list. So this is the Gallic 300 to 110, 101 BC list with Samnite allies, and as we can see, well, let's have a look at my Galatians again briefly first. So as I've said in my other videos, the Galatians are characterised by their heavy superior warbands, which are excellent at breaking the line, backed up by mediocre warbands and a good wing of armoured cavalry, and a less good wing of numerous noble cavalry. So they are capable of having a very... The interesting thing about the Galatians is that they can go in two different directions. They can either go heavily into their cavalry, or they can go heavily into their foot. Now, the Gallic army is quite similar. They do not have as many superior warbands. They only have 3 of them. And they have more close order warbands. They have more of the ordinary warbands, but the real draw card over the Galatians is that they also have access to these loose order warbands, and they also have access to this excellent Samnite foot, which is a impact foot. However, the Samnite foot might not be such an appropriate choice, as these will probably lose to the Galatian warbands, but again, it gives them the ability to operate on the rough ground. And if we have a look at the battlefield, there are some significant areas of rough ground, and these, if you place a superior unit of mediums on these patches here and have your weaker units hidden behind them, then those weaker units are effectively protected unless the Galatian warbands can somehow manage to move past the zone of control, which means that you can control the battlefield and protect these units more effectively. So this is very much going to be a battle of light versus heavy in this battle, and like most warband lists, the skirmishers are mediocre, but they do have better options, actually having some slingers and light archers available instead of the usual swarms of light javelinmen, swarms of light javelinmen that the Galatians bring. They only have 4, it's a very, very small. Again, this heavy versus light is mirrored in the cavalry. Well, I say that actually, where the Gallic list excels then is not in its infantry, but its cavalry arm out in the open. And if the Gauls want to fight out in the open, they want to make use of the cavalry advantage. They have some armoured cavalry borrowed off their Samnite allies, which are cheap and manoeuvrable flankers, though they're not quite as cost effective as the noble cavalry. So between these armoured cavalry, they are able to bring just as many cheap cavalry. They outnumber the Galatian chariots, which means that the Gauls can potentially go for a very cheap and numerous chariot force, which can very quickly encircle the enemy cavalry and then move in against the infantry. And in case they want to go elite as well, they certainly have access to plenty of elite cavalry. So the Gallic force lacks the infantry punch that the Galatians offer, but they make up for it by being far more flexible, having a good selection of medium troops, especially with their allies, and also having access to better cavalry options and slightly better skirmisher options. Really, with these 2 units, substantially better skirmisher options. They actually have a decent skirmish list. So I'm particularly worried about the chariots and also the presence of those loose warbands. It's going to make it difficult for me to make contact with the Gallic horde today. Okay, so my opponent today is Pompey the Flatulent, and let me set up my armies. So Pompey is a very good player, by the way. He's got a very formidable record in the Digital League. I'll be back once I'm set up. Okay, at least I get to demonstrate a new formation today. So this is a left-leaning wedge, and it has so it's basically a weighted flank, which is pulled back right, which is pulled back at a 90-degree angle. I have my, whoops, these guys haven't been assigned properly. So I have my warbands my weaker warbands on the refused flank, and their job is basically to try and guard the flank of these superior warbands, and the superior warbands are going... I think I'll actually have them in the corner, come to think of it. So their job is to guard the flanks of the superior warband, and no, I'll keep the corner here, but what there should be is a unit up here buttressing this flank. And the reason they are there is just in case this corner unit gets pulled away or something bad happens to it, there's another unit waiting in the corners in order to come to the protection of the unit further in. So always have this corner unit if you're going for this formation. Obviously I'm planning to break through this flank here and try and capture this area of ground here before turning on the hill if Pompey decides to hold up here. And I have a large force of flanking cavalry to help me achieve that. So any cavalry force that Pompey decides to put out to contest this area of open ground, I am hoping to try and match. And I have a small reserve of cavalry back here, just in case he does manage to get some cavalry around to this point. They can at least contest the flank and give some time for troops to come from another part of the battlefield. So let's see what happens. I'm expecting a tough battle today. He's gone for the opposite. So he's just he's mirrored my approach. We've waited opposite flanks, so unfortunately that means that my wedge has nothing to aim at. And I have the added disadvantage of not being able to see most of his army. Although I do outnumber his cavalry. On this flank at least. There's going to be so much more waiting in those forests. So Pompey picked up on my lack of skirmishers. I have no skirmishers in this list. Well, almost none. So I'm kind of just going all in on heavy infantry and cavalry. I'm going to have to try and play around the skirmish problem. My line is already short. I don't want to make it even shorter by taking skirmishers with me as well, because the skirmishers are unlikely to be decisive. I suppose I can at least stop his skirmishers from being decisive. The problem I have right now is I don't have good visibility of the battlefield. What I think I will do is send my chariots and cavalry out to do some scouting of that valley, because that's where he'll be coming in from. We'll leave the general with the infantry for now. Start to gradually open this army up and move towards the centre of the battlefield. No, just move them up. And move these units up into an L shape. So we're going to create kind of another curve in our line. Although we really do need to try and stay away from that mountain. I might actually abandon this. You guys move out to this side here. No, move out here, and then the chariots can come up. Obviously going to try and bring my cavalry out to battle. Oh, and one thing to always do in these kinds of battles is get a sense of the army sizes. Oh, we're about evenly matched. That probably means either lots of skirmishers or lots of cavalry from him. Probably, I suspect there's going to be a swarm of chariots coming around this side of the battlefield, because they only have 100 men in the unit, so that would explain the low numbers. And although it could also be a massive medium foot, because the medium foot have less in their units than the warbands, and so they may have gone more in for the veteran Samnites and the Samnites than the warbands. Alright, next turn. He's going very wide with his cavalry. Thing is, if I make it too obvious that I'm going after his noble cavalry, then and this could be a trap. Like I said, there's probably a chariot horde out there somewhere, because he'll just pull back if I try and go after him with my large body of cavalry. It could be an opportunity. No, he only has to run over to here, and then I've wasted my time, haven't I? I want to know what's in that valley. The sound's down low, so I can't hear the trundle of chariots. Might have to rewatch this video at a higher volume. Alright, let's keep forming up. So this wedge was supposed to destroy everything here, but there's nothing over here. We've revealed something. What? There's a good chance there's something in that village. Keep scouting. Okay, trying the other direction. Hello. Aha! Yeah, there's a horde of chariots waiting inside that forest, along with a fair number of superior warbands. Okay, we definitely want to not move up too aggressively here. I need to try and keep a reserve, because that chariot, because it's going to start raining chariots on this flank, I think. I knew I was going to end up moving them in. Okay. And maybe keep a few of our Celtic chariots back. Although, I mean, I'm strong on this flank, I do still want to outnumber him here. So, he's guarding his... That's why he's positioned as a cavalry line here. He's guarding this flank. And honestly, probably has another unit here. Can't remember the deployment exactly. Well, just leaving them here serves neither purpose. This wasn't really constructive for much. I'll continue to stake out this line. Planning to swing this way, but I don't want to make it too obvious. Next turn. Yeah, he's just dropping back. So I can see a couple of Yep. This is quite common. He's tightening the noose around my army. The obvious problem is starting to interrupt my forward momentum. Look at the chariots. And those veteran Samnite foot are dangerous to my warbands, because again, superior troops good against warbands, and elite units good against superior warbands. These are warband killers. If I can get up onto that hill, it would give me some very good reconnaissance. I might get cut off. That's the only problem. Right, I'm going to try to make it clear to Pompey that I'm looking to fight on this plain here. I don't want to attack that mountain. Well, let's take a look. Is this position assailable? No, because if he's hiding chariots there, then a huge chariot force could descend on this position, and that rough ground is going to block the advance of my Galatian foot. I suppose I could form up and just advance the column here. We have enough space to fight on this line. It's kind of playing to his battle plan though. But on the other hand, I should be able to get rid of that Samnite foot if it decides to take the hill. What I think I'll do is I'm just going to wait a turn and see what he does next. So next turn. So the appropriate response here would probably just continue the staring contest. Yeah, he's shut the valley in. Interesting that he's decided to hide there. He's probably he probably can't see that I can't see that square, but I will have to remember that those troops are there. Okay. Now that's looking more like a cavalry wing. I might have to extend my line in this direction after all. It's difficult for me to advance because I can't see his entire army, and trying to advance against this hill is suicide. It's not what, at least until I've weakened his army somewhere else, the hill is pretty much safe for his army. I can't possibly challenge that position. Again, my lack of skirmishers is making me reluctant to challenge his control of that hill. Which is my fault. I mean, I did have some skirmish options. I could have brought some light javelin or something. I could have run up here and secured this. So he's got 6 units of cavalry plus the 7 here. Because I won't be, even if I take the height, I won't be able to take advantage of it. Those skirmishers will just force me down. On the other hand, there's probably not much point hiding from the skirmishers either. Because they'll just come forward and attack me anyway. I think, unfortunately, I have to give a bit of ground here. It's not a very satisfying thing to do, but under the circumstances, I need to get away and fight him in relatively open, flat terrain. This mountaineering business isn't going to cut it. We'll start pulling back on this wing. Okay. He's definitely an encirclement general. He's trying to get around my sides. I'm going to count up. I'm going to have a closer look at his army off screen, and I'll see you next turn. So he's marking my fallback. Okay, come a little bit closer. I'm not going to hurt you. We can be friends. Just come a little bit closer to the Galatian death machine. Thing is, I'm in charge range there. Which means that we're about to take a cohesion test when we fall back a bit further. Cohesion test, good, held firm. He's already forced me into a scare situation. Need to give him just enough room. These units are so unmaneuverable, I'm still having trouble with them. Okay. Well, back where we started is a good end to situations like this. Next turn. Oh, Pompey wants to draw. Well, no, I'm not going to go for a draw. I'll come out and fight if it's a choice between that and I understand why he's reluctant to come out though, because those medium foot, well, not the veterans so much, but that Samnite foot is very vulnerable to my superior warbands. Remember, this is a new opponent for me as well, so we're kind of sizing one another up. Alright, let's loop around here. Turn around here. These guys are going to have to fight a bit of a rearguard action. But let's go. Who did we reveal? Well, can't take that move back now. Better be happy with it. Think about this carefully. Bring them out here. And that's not really ideal. Ideally, what I want to do is engage them on the flat here. I don't want to fight on a diagonal. I'm trying to open his flanks. That wasn't optimal movement either. I've been playing. I have been playing two continuous games against Pompey, as well as a game against Thunderbird, a game against two tournament games against Harvey LH. I have been playing for most of the day at this point. I'm starting to get a little bit tired. Next turn. So even with his cavalry under threat, Pompey still thinks this is going to be a draw. I think if I can remove his cavalry, I'll have enough infantry to go up that hill, and that was lucky. He could have got the flank attack on my chariots there. That was a very clever angle of attack. If that hadn't bounced back, that would have been a rout right there. Cowards. But he generaled up, which is why they made the retreat. Thankfully I can catch him against my warband here. Yeah, I'm starting to understand why Pompey has such a good reputation. He's maneuvered extremely well against me here. Well, he's definitely getting ready for an attack. That's a little bit. That's kind of a lot of force to use against chariots that are going to retreat anyway. Okay, move in and neutralize this threat here. And I think I see a chance to pin him in. if I can set this up correctly. Okay, that was never going to go any other way, but... Can't quite do that, can I? But I can do this. Take a general so you don't screw it up. Alright. Lock these guys in, and I'll be relying on my noble cavalry to take on the commander-in-chief. He's probably going to swap his general over again to attack this unit here. At least I have chariots moving up in support. Let's see, do I want to push forward here? Might possibly catch his chariots. I want to leave them in place though, because I want those Celtic chariots to come under a direct charge from my noble cavalry. If he charges in here, I can get the flank in his Celtic chariot, so I can alleviate any flanking attempt there. Though to make my position even stronger there, it would be nice if I could get into a position to block any attack on those chariots. That's going to be difficult to do though. Move up here, we'll just cut them off for the moment. See, of course, I remember now he's got this Samnite foot. It's been a few days since I played this game. This is one more reason to try and play your games quickly. You start to forget key parts of the battlefield, including which units are heading where. Well, we need to move away here because I don't want to expose myself to an attack coming off that hill while I'm dealing with this. I'm obviously going all in against his cavalry. But that does leave my cavalry here in a worryingly exposed position. What I might want to do is just run away here. And for the record, I'm not running away to get a draw. I am, though that may end up happening just because of the way the maneuvers are going. What I'm trying to do is to buy enough time to finish up here, and then I can turn on the infantry and cavalry force, but I need to preserve my forces here long enough to achieve that. He can't quite charge from that square, but he'll be up on me next turn. Thing is, those skirmishers are going to be upon me as well, but next turn we should be able to just drive away. Right, because thanks to that he can't move here. He wants to chase these off. That's fine, he's welcome to do that. I'll just move away. So we can start to make her escape next turn. This unit might be in a bit of trouble. But I think the situation I've caught his cavalry in is worth that. Very clever charge here, though, that almost destroyed my chariots. Just because I think that unit's... Well, no, I need to organise this a bit. I can't... This is probably the most vulnerable unit, because it'll come under attack from his light javelin. However, I think long term this unit's probably the more vulnerable, because it will be in danger of rear charge from the Celtic chariots next turn. But there's nothing I can do about that right now. Right, next turn. Whoops, almost forgot. We do actually want to bring down these troops as soon as possible. Okay, now it's next turn. Right. No. So he's pulling back. Oh, I think he could have afforded to be more aggressive there, because these units really were in trouble, especially this warband, because I would have had to just pull back. I wonder if he's still going to try and harass me with the light javelin. No, he's definitely pulling back into a defensive position. Fragmented, but they might still escape. Okay, let's see. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attack and charge here. See if I can push these chariots into dangerous position. That is rather dangerous. Right, borrow a general. Well, we survived impact. Can we get to the chariots? Yes, we can. Excellent. Okay. Nah, they held firm. Although they're not out of the woods yet, we will of course go in for the flank attack there. And let's see where these archers end up. That's not ideal. We're going to get hit. My noble cavalry are going to get hit hard here. But thankfully we're within supporting distance for these against these Celtic chariots. Well, that's not ideal. If I try to intervene too aggressively here, then I'll get flanked. And I don't want my cavalry to be on the rough ground. I don't really want to just shove these units away either. I need to try and shadow them for a moment. Because he can't turn to charge, that's more than 90 degree, that's 90 degree facing. He won't be able to turn there. So I'm just trying to close these cavalry down, prevent them from escaping. But this is of course costing me valuable time. While I'm hunting down his cavalry, I can't turn on the rest of his force, so he's right, this may well be a draw now. I don't know if I have enough time to deal with this. So sometimes it just works out that way. Pompey is right with his cavalry in this kind of disarray. He can't come out and fight my army in the open. And equally, I'm not sure if I'm going to have time to both mop up this cavalry force and then turn on the hill. I'll need to be very quick. If I can cripple the cavalry force, then I can turn around and start moving up after it. Let's see. Try and bring up our warbands, because of course we want to support against the cavalry. But our unmaneuverable status is... That's what I love about the Galatians. They're just a massive steamroller. You have, as long as you can avoid getting flanked, you can just move anywhere you want. Nothing can stop them. Nothing can slow them down. They're great fun to use. A really, really entertaining army. In that respect, you really are controlling a steamroller. Okay, next turn. And so he's just literally heading for the hills now. And honestly, if this was a tournament game, that would be an appropriate response. Because he's unlikely to win the battle at this point. Unfortunately, I just can't quite close the deal against some of these cavalry units. Thankfully, my chariots stood up to that. There was no guarantee that they would. Chariots being quite disadvantaged against noble cavalry and melee. To be fair, I don't think it's necessarily impossible to win from here, but when you're down this many units, it's going to be very hard to come back from that position. Okay, how are our chariots doing now? So once the cavalry are disrupted, then the chariots can do their jobs. Not a moment before. I think I'll just pin them in for now. Force them to try and take a cohesion test backing up, because I suppose it doesn't make much of a difference because they'll evade off the field anyway. Let's go for the break, and they broke. but unfortunately that's probably going to take a unit of my cavalry with them. Oh, they stayed in the field at least, that's good. See, for this unit that strategy is much more effective. Although we will take a hammering from their skirmishers. Those cavalry have escaped, we won't be able to stop those, and so it's not been a complete loss for his cavalry. He has managed to get some of them out of contact. But he kind of lost ground from not being able to follow up that attack of my vulnerable flank guard. If he could have taken out those cavalry as well, then my position would have been a lot more vulnerable. Just move these guys up so that the skirmishers are at least a little bit vulnerable to being chased around. The problem is the more I move these heavy units out of position, the more dangerous, the more difficult it will be for me to turn them around and get them back to the battlefield. So I am going to start turning my army around now. And we are, of course, going to start heading for the previous defensive position of the enemy army, but I doubt we're going to get there in time. I think this turn is over for now, so I'll see you in the next one. Whoops, of course, we're still going after these guys, who are still trying to evade us. And I can actually use these troops that escaped to help me do that. So that gives them something to do. Again, that's more of my forces that are being drawn off if I want to make an assault on the hill, though. Okay, next turn for real this time. So Pompey is arguing that suggesting that the Galatians are a one-trick pony. I'm not sure they're a one-trick pony. They're a two-trick pony, really, because they also have the strong cavalry. It's not like they... And not all of their troops are committed to offensive action. The warbands can be quite effective on the defense as well. So they are more flexible than they look, despite their relatively limited roster. Where they really struggle is with the lack of skirmishers and with the lack of spears to defend against lancer attack. The Galatians are very weak against lancers, and they're not particularly strong against heavy horse archer armies. I think the cavalry can deal with light horse archer armies, but against armies like the Sarmatians or the health farm again, or particularly the Roxolani. He lured me into a nasty little ambush there, and they're away now. We'll walk up here. So against those kinds of armies, the Galatians only have limited options because the cavalry aren't really strong enough to protect against the obviously very specialised steppe cavalry, and the warbands just don't have a prayer when faced with you can evade from there. He's doing a frustratingly good job of keeping away from my cavalry. Let's see. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to start turning away, and that means we're becoming vulnerable again. I think I'll turn these noble cavalry around, but it means all of these resources are being committed to hunting down this one unit. But I don't think the Galatians are a one-trick pony. I think they do have good cavalry to back up their infantry units, and it's possibly not quite fair in the list to suggest that they only have one trick up their sleeve. But they do have very poor skirmishers, and that obviously balances out the fact that they have excellent infantry and pretty good cavalry as well. As I said before, they are a very heavy oriented list. And they are obviously rubbish at dealing with rough ground, but the sheer power of the infantry can often mean they can get the upper hand on rough ground if they can push through in the gaps between the rough ground and get flank attacks. They can overcome units on rough ground just by getting flank attacks on them and then destroying the disrupted unit next turn. Yeah, my noble cavalry are about to take a mauling here from the archers. And they're away now. The thing is, they could rally up and come back, and they're very dangerous to my army while they're out there like that, because my noble cavalry will need to fall back. They need to get away from these skirmishers, or I need to bring up infantry to support. Jeez. Even an army with lots of mediums to help with an assault like this would have trouble taking this position. Now I don't have a lot of time left. Well, I got them off the map at least. But that means they escaped me for now. So I've got 12 turns to march over there and defeat this entire army. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that, but I'm going to try my best anyway. Oh. We're going to have to be reckless with our movements if we're going to have a chance of doing this, so I'm just going to start marching. I still want to have a battle today. Thing is, what are we going to do once we get there? I probably want to try and veer off towards this side of the battlefield because I don't want to attack that forest. That's the worst possible terrain for a Galatian army to try and attack. And we're going to get mauled all the way by skirmisher fire. Next turn. Okay, at this point, I may eat my words. This may end up being a victory, but you can probably safely tune out now because I don't think I'm going to be able to get to the other side of the map in time. I think what I'll probably do is cut out the next couple of turns of the video because it will just be chasing Pompey across the map, and if I do manage to make contact in any significant way, then I will resume recording. But we're probably coming to the end of the match now, at least as far as anything significant happening is concerned. I still don't know how the movement system works sometimes. We're just going to get picked off. I'm not sure if I want to try and mount an assault late in the battle. You know, we have 10 turns. It's not impossible. Okay, enough defeatism. Move as quickly as you possibly can. We're going to try this. Can I just have one game where I don't have to try something insane? That's not it. We're trying to slingshot them past our warband. So let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and that's not counting whatever's lurking in the woodland over here. We should be able to reach the foot. Oh, well. Let's send the cavalry forward to do some reconnaissance. I can't see anything. Maybe our warbands will see something. No, we're running blind. Let's try that again. I'm not sure the chariots are the best unit to be using over here. I'm starting to regret telling people that they could tune out because I suspect that this might be... There's going to be a battle here. I'm not out of time yet. Next turn. Okay, this is getting interesting again. Those skirmishers are going to keep bothering me across the map. Okay. Let's look at this. So this is the section of the line that's vulnerable, but he's got troops on rough ground here, protecting the sector. So my warbands would have to get right around this side. And then they'd have to turn this massive height and get a unit onto this square to make the attack. Do I even have the manpower to do that? And this is where the javelin foot might actually have come in handy if I could protect them and started. But then again, no, if his intention is just to defend the spot. There's a forest on this side with God knows what's in it. And this flank refused. Hurry up and get the noble cavalry to me. We've got 9 turns to do this. And if I can make it threatening enough, maybe I can coax him down. Or actually, my own force vulnerable enough, maybe I can coax him down for a fight in open terrain. It's not a great chance, but it's a chance. The real question now, I think, is whether Pompey really is content to just sit there and let the battle end, or whether he's going to come out and fight at the last moment. Move up the cavalry because they are going to be the ones who block any flankers coming out of the forest. And they might be able to close through the gaps as well. I'll need to do some scouting in the forest. These units might be able to get here at the very end of the battle if fighting starts at this point. But other than that, they're pretty much out of the fight now. Next turn. That's fine, that warband can keep them protected. And they'll be low in ammo now. That's another avenue. This thing, particularly in friendly matches like this, I'd rather lose than draw. So I'm going to try to make a go of it. Even if that does make me sound like I've got a full-blown case of the crazies. Okay, swing out to here. Well, I didn't have as much thought in this part of the battlefield. 1, 2, 1, 2. There's a few corners I can try and open up. I need enough manpower here. He's got those two units. He's also got these units crouching here, and I don't have a lot of cavalry. Having this unit will help, but I still have a deficiency in manpower. You lot get to it, and you can get to this turn here. I think this unit will. I should have thought through this. This unit will have to go here or something. I think they can still scoot around if he's unwilling to come off the hill and mount an active defense of his position. No, don't do that. You guys need to go here, or do you? Yeah, you'll ultimately need to aim for this forest, and my aim is to get a chariot through. Oh, what am I going to? And okay, so these cavalry are going to be the breakthrough force. Now, how is that going to work? Blast! I just don't have enough forces. I'll need to focus on one point. I'll need probably to focus on this area here and try and get my cavalry through. I need to try and get around this and then wrap his line. Nothing else is going to solve the issue. I'm not really sure that I made that in haste. Let's see. So I'm trying to get my troops around to this kind of area here. Move out. Because he's still got the Samnites lurking back there. Can I possibly draw my cavalry in from this flank to help in time? Maybe. Yeah, leave the general here. This attack takes priority. Okay, next turn. You know, I don't think I've seen anything more Galatian than trying to assault a height 100 hill with only about 9 turns left of notice. He's determined to find a way through to attack those cavalry. He's shuffling troops around, which also makes it harder for me to plan. And I've still got those guys hunting around my back line. Ah. And they're close to auto-braking as well. I do have an evil plan. I always have an evil plan. Let's see. So I actually need these units to go here. This unit here. Everyone kind of has to shuffle one along. And the rest of these units are in support. Probably best to get away from the nasty men with stones and spears. Well, bows. For some reason I thought they were light javelins. It's going to take us some time to get into position. Come on, shuffle around. What do you think this is, an undisciplined Roman army? We are the Galatians. If we lose formation, we die. Let's see. So that matches up to here. You lot come out here, you're aiming for this gap. Let's see, so covering this gap we've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just give you an idea of what everything's meant. Though again, I'm looking to knock out that corner, so it's more, if you imagine this unit's going to try and flank here, it's more like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're still outnumbered on this flank. So I'm unlikely to get my flank attack here, and with the time left, it pretty much has to be through the forest now. We're aiming for the square here again. Have I moved everyone? Well, everyone that can move anyway, without coming out of formation. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We could suffer quite a nasty blow if he comes out suddenly. Next turn. Well, we're here. Sorry if things jumped around a bit. I was interrupted during the recording. Right. Of course, the trouble with what I'm doing, I always turn this way. I hate that trick. Pompey's saying we'll manage the assault if we're drunk enough. Well, that's always a possibility. I suppose we could also try and struggle through the forests. Thing is, I need to know what's out there. Alright, well, there's one unit found. And they'll form a strong point. Let's see. Honestly, that could be the starting point for an attack. Let's move our cavalry up. Because if I can undermine Pompey's position on the hill, then I might be able to do something here. And all of this stuff here is a mess. That's not really my priority. What I'm really interested in is this line on top of the hill. If I can find a way to assault that, open it up. This is going to be very difficult though. Very difficult. It's going to be, well, unfortunately due to the circumstances, very fast, difficult going. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 units there. Actually, if I can bring in the chariots as well. So he's attacking right up the world's steepest slope to turn this. Wow. Next turn. Well, I knew that was going to happen. So then just continue to harass us. Those skirmishers have been a pain this entire battle. At least I think that was a half arc. Oh, it was probably a long range shot at those units. And the question is he going to catch the offensive spirit and come out and fight me? If he turns like this too much, he could open a line that I can exploit. In fact, I think he might have already. That's an ugly hill. Huh? The joys of not knowing what's out there. He's got nothing in these rear squares, which means I'm getting around his line. I'm sure he's got something out there which I haven't seen. Let me think about if I advance for opportunity. Not really. That doesn't really give him any opportunities. Okay. Yep. That does. Okay. These units might serve a purpose after all. That might actually be good placement of those chariots, but I don't want to do it just yet. Do I want to come down? I don't want to invite a downward charge until he's gonna draw out the clock, I think. I just don't have enough time to do this. But I'm gonna keep trying. If nothing else, hopefully I can win some kudos from my determination. The cavalry's causing me a problem too. Let's see. It'll be upon me in this number of turns. Remember, there's only 5 turns left, so I may want to try and win the battle before it arrives. Normally I'd never leave a threat like that to my back, but right now I'm just trying to see if I can win. I could just sit back and call this a draw, but I want to try and win. So I'm going to commit fully to the attack. And obviously this would normally be incredibly foolish, but this is an incredibly stupid idea. So let's try it anyway and see what happens. Yeah, I'll keep these on the angle, and that limits the options of those superior warbands, of that superior warband. And I think we'll have to adopt a defensive stance here. I'll turn to endanger this corner here. Really keep his troops on the lookout. Pompey's not going to be idle during this. I'm sure he'll have his own plans of how to exploit my position. He might push down the hill suddenly and use his numbers advantage here as I start to engage on this flank. At the very least, I hope to have a battle today, even if it's not one that results in a total victory for one side. I should still be thinking about how to, but I need to try and keep this area protected because this is going to be the main theatre of the battle. Next turn. What is he feeding those cavalry? And they're a great target, forced against the side, pinned against these Samnite foot, of course. Where's the general when you need him? Ha. Found a use for them after all. Okay. Folks, there's no guarantee I'm going to be able to pull this off. I think the problem is these Samnite foot can then engage on good terms. Not quite been clever enough myself because these guys can engage and cause enormous damage to my superior warband. Now I could come forward diagonally and block that, but I think all that would do is it would at least force part of his army off the hill here. Because if I move here, he's forced to engage me with that warband if he wants to gain this advantage. And I've still got the flank attacks to go through, but this cavalry is getting close. It's probably close enough that I can get past my even if these guys dart left. And I kind of want to try and smash through here. Try and get right behind all of this. I'll be able to do it because I'll have enough forces now around the back. I'll either be able to bypass the chariots through the forest, or I'll be able to maybe even just knock them aside because they're not particularly good units. But he's coming for me in the... See if he dart, because he can move here, or he could just try and dart around here and right around my army if I turn around. And I'd like, the thing is, because only using these noble cavalry to get the flank attack, well, we will eventually wear them down, but as I said, I'm probably going to be engaged by this Samnite foot, and they'll be devastating against the severely ordered superior warband. So, and if I just leave this open, these cavalry will get through and they will outflank my line before the end of the battle. There's still 4 turns left. I still kind of need my chariots here. I could try and bring them over to block the worst of this. Because he'll be here next turn. About 2 turns away from getting to the flanks of these units. Or he could move here And then he could move to here and he'll be right on top of my line. I can't risk that happening. I have to split my forces up a little bit. You can also move to here. That's less problematic because I can just move to here to block it. And he could try and cut through here, which I can probably turn to prevent that from causing too much. Oh no, the lights got me after all. Right, turn here then instead so that we were ready to repel them. He did this to me in my last battle as well. But he could still manage to engage and hold them up long enough. Right, let's think about that. I can't really, because I would like to move here and then move around to here, but he can charge me in the forest. And I've committed myself now. Well, I decided that I was going to try to take this position, so there's, that's the end of it. If it doesn't end well, it doesn't end well. Just really carefully weighing up my options here. 1, 2, 3, so we match him here. 4, 5. Okay. He's actually got unit superiority here. Well, they'll arrive soon. We can probably plug that if it becomes a problem. Maybe I should borrow some troops from this side. And move a unit to go block the cavalry because it's caused me such problems. I think I'm going to have to do that. It's a pain in the neck redeploying like this, but we're going to have to respond to that threat. Alright. But if that's how it's going to be, if we're going to just turn and face this oncoming threat, then I'll commit here. I guess he'll be on their flanks next turn, won't he? And I can't protect that. I just realised you can block these skirmishers in as well, I think. Or he will be, yeah, I can see how this is going to go. What a wretched way for things to end, but well done to him for keeping that unit alive and making it such a problem for me. I can't commit to this. I have to turn like this. And he's probably going to, because he's going to paralyze me otherwise on the rough ground. Oh my god, he was here as well. He had all of this planned out. Alright. Take the general here, please. We're going to need to try and break this. Well done. Next turn. So well done for blocking me there. Very annoying. Okay, decided not to do. Oh, he's moving in here. Okay. It's going after these cavalry here. They might auto-break in the time given. He's opted not to charge it. Oh, that was unlucky. That was like a 1% chance or something, but luckily they held on. Yeah, after the... I had some luck after the initial terrible luck. He's definitely moving up. He can see the weakness that's emerging in my army here. Right, I didn't go to all that trouble to maneuver them into this position for nothing. But of course now I'll be driven off by his cavalry, which means it's this unit which is going to have to take over the flanking duties. With so few men left in the unit, there's not much chance. God. Welcome to hell fighting. Welcome to the terrifying, terrifying art of hell fighting. At least I'm threatening that warband now. It's quite squishy. And he hasn't used this. Oh, he's going to go through here. Not a bad move under the circumstances. Let me try and disentangle my troops here. We've only got 3 turns left. So at this point, if you're going to go for anything, go for it. I'm not going to be able to get to 40% in this time. I'm just trying to analyze the situation because I need to obviously block this off. I think can he engage across the front of this unit? I'm really not clear on the zone of control rules when a unit would have to cross the front of another unit like this. But he's obviously threatening it. Then again, well, he'd still hit this unit from 100% height going downhill on the flank. So I definitely don't want to get into that engagement if I don't have to. So I would move up to here. So that unit moves here, I move here to counter. That unit moves here, I move here to counter. He's in a little bit of difficulty here, I think. Because I don't know if he can cover everything here. Okay, so moving. Another thing to think about, maybe move these chariots. Because that would force him to pursue if he wants to intervene here. He could expose something that he doesn't want to. So he could move here. So obviously choose either this unit or this unit to pursue. Because the warband isn't in position. I really need to find a way to drive through here and through the gap that could potentially leave. But he's got this warband here and I've got these units to worry about. Oh, this is excellent. This is just the kind of maneuvering I wanted to show off with the Galatian army. Imagine if we had more time. I'm a little bit resigned to a draw at this point, but imagine if I had more time. This is the kind of assault you can get into with the Galatian army. Okay, let's see. The other danger is he goes so far that he ends up flanking this unit, and that could cause me major problems. But if it helps to pull his army out of position, it's worth it at this point. I'm going for broke here. No, hold on, I still need to think about this. Let's have a look. Because I need to move here to block that unit, but moving my chariots to here, maybe I can do something with this square. And I need to move across to here, so I need to do something, because if he attacks here, then that's going to be a situation that develops. No, there's not really anything I can do about this, is there? It's a shame, it looked like a good line of attack, but I've not quite got the resources to make the most of it. Here I can possibly try and pull him out of position a little bit, because the Galatians now can't move forward. Well, they can, really. Of course, the angle's sharper now. I wonder if I can force some of his other units into dangerous positions. And move this here, and that then blocks the superior. No, they can then move up. Can they move off to the side in this situation? I wish I knew the zone of control zone moves better. I think they can still dart off to the side, but I don't think they can charge from that position. I don't think they can charge, because that would be their charge path. They'd go down the hill and then into the corner here. But I hope I'm right. Let's see if that forces a charge from him. He charges in there. He charges in there. The unit charges in. That could lead to flank attacks. But honestly, if it gives me a chance of taking this warband unit out and exposing this part of his line, then it's possibly worth it. Thing is, if he charges in, he could then move up to plug that gap. I can't. No, it's not going to work. Blast it, it's all not going to work. That means I really don't have much chance of blocking any of this. Maybe there are at least parts of his line that I can expose. Hill's problematic, but I can't. That's not my greatest worry right now. I think I do actually want to place my chariots here, because that will at least start to force him out of this defensive position, give him other problems to worry about. Turn these units to the side as well, because maybe they can slide around and interfere with the situation. Oh, who was he in charge range of? Yikes. I always miss that 3-line charge. A lot of players miss it, it's easy to miss. But remember that cavalry can charge 3 spaces and then hit your unit there. Okay. Next turn. Alright, let's see where the madness takes us. Yeah, he's closing in. Alright, he's looking to lock down them with his veterans. Push them out of the way, but that does expose them. Ah, but he's locked them down as expected with his chariots. Yeah, he's got all the resources he needs to win this thing. So it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to take the hill. I don't think my army will collapse, but I would not expect to win from this position. I can push his chariots out the way and I can possibly get around his army though. So he's not completely out the woods yet. You get pushed out the way. He's probably going to catch my other unit too. Yep. But that leaves them free to move up. Ah, smart. He's closed in my cavalry. And they'll auto-break this turn. Interesting that he still hasn't committed here. So, because he knows I'm going all in at this point. Surrender? I do not know the meaning of this word. I still have the chariots. I do still have the chariots. Or as Napoleon would say, we still have the guard. There is absolutely nothing I can do about this. Although these cavalry can start to turn back. And let's just take our thumping because it's inevitable at this point. And that'll allow him to move through to block my flank attack. Well played. Well played indeed. The only chance I have now is if one of his units fragments or something. What am I going to do with you lot? I don't want them to turn to face, I want them to flee if charged, to be honest. Because, but then they might get caught by the chariots. It's a small chance, but it's threatening enough that I'm thinking about it. Although while they're here, they are... No, but then they'll get flanked by units on both sides. I'm trying to see if I can block the chariots' movements. Let's imagine if he engages here. Yeah, there's not really much I can do, is there? Because these engage, these move through the woods, and these, and then engage the flank, and all that happens is my noble cavalry go down. Let's just leave them facing this way, and they'll hopefully pursue. Maybe we can do something with them. Maybe if the battle was longer, we could have done something with them later on when they reformed. God, that's an ugly state of affairs. And of course, there's the ever-present risk that I'll bounce off, and that will undo my line. Even those squishy Samnite foot have the advantage at this height. If I had more time, I could... Oh, there's 2 turns left. Let's just go Hail Mary and go for it, shall we? Okay, this attack needs to go in now. Good. If they get forced back to this ground, we'll reverse this advantage. But it's going to end now anyway. That's the only reason I went for this attack here. Really, considering this is for demonstration purposes, I shouldn't have gone for that attack. I should have engaged the minimum number of soldiers possible in this hill. So it was really only for the entertainment value and for the sake of the charge that I went for that. Let's see, several dangers. So they engage here, they engage here. If you can drive off this guarding cavalry unit, he's kind of got my flank. Well, it seems like the obvious situation here is just to turn around and defend ourselves. It's a shame that I've only got these Celtic chariots to defend the spot. And he's got fresh skirmishers lurking around here, which I still need to move here because I need to defend this line. Okay. Next turn. Right, let's bring it to a close. This is of course what I was worried about. This may decide a lot. That's a disruption. Not what we needed there. Of course, those Samnites, so their edge is getting worn down. Crunch. Again, if they get forced back. With the hill there, those superior warbands actually stand a chance. But this would have been a very interesting battle if it had continued. Oh, well, that's kind of blocked him in, actually. He can't rescue his troops from flanking now. So that's actually not a great look for him. Not a great situation. I'll turn around and stop any flank shenanigans there, but interesting. I know I did that. Well anticipated, because otherwise I would have charged in here. Well, I'll still follow after him. Oh, that's a trap. Well, it would be a trap if there was only more than one turn left. But if I advanced there, then he could attack me with the veteran Samnites on this position here, and but then that would open up his flank. So yeah, I guess I'd be willing to take that chance. Of course, I'd want to know what's happening everywhere else first. We're going to get forced back there. Not a big deal. And here, of course, we are committing to the charge and moving up for the flank. I'll push up here now that I know what's going to happen. I could actually turn this way and say that I'm going to flank this unit unless you come off that hill, and that would let me behind his lines. This is all just hypotheticals now. Charge in and try and overwhelm the chariots. We get... Oh, for a second I thought we'd disrupted. I think I saw a win 6% chance or something like that. I thought, oh god, we've come apart on impact. Okay. Alright. Well... Last throws of the dice, let's just see how things go in the hill. Now remember, if I hadn't charged, he would have probably charged me at some point during the battle. So my decision to engage here in the end ended up not really making a difference. And there it goes. That's where things would have gone really, really bad for us. And a double drop as well. Ouch. That was always going to happen at some point. We did finally manage to turn the forest battle. If I could have held off from this and got this flank attack without engaging on the hill, that would have been a better position. But I wasn't able to do that because of the positioning of his troops. I could have possibly done that by getting this flank attack through. I had to basically sacrifice my cavalry to get this. We're locked in the forest now, so I have nothing to do there. And let's just see how it goes along the line. Well, I can hardly complain about the ending. Oh, they broke off. Come on, can we at least break this unit? Come on. Well, why not? This would have been such a fun and interesting match if, well, it was still a fun and interesting match, but it would have been so much better if we'd been able to finish it. I've been caught like that before. No thanks. Don't know if I'm going to get a chance to actually play at this point. Yep, last turn. So that blocks him still. See if we can do some damage to his chariots. This is just to see what happens now. So we get that disruption, but this is going to nullify it. Oh. Yep. You see what's possible if you just try. And you get really, really, really lucky, which I seem to be getting here. frighteningly lucky. And that's the nice thing about chariots, they're weak enough that they drop back and, well, easy come, easy go. So the fact that we're both moderately disordered is playing with the odds there. Oh, well, we can't. If we can't break through here, I'd have to order them back into it. We've managed to get the break. Well, at least if that was a now that's Oh, we were so close. I was just about to say, if that was a tournament battle, I would have got the points for getting to 20% against an opponent. Is there anything we can do? Anything that might yield that last percentage point? Maybe if we fragment them here. If we can fragment them and then break them next turn, but we push them back. Thwarted by the hell again. I have one more turn and I would have been there. That's a crying shame, that is. And he's just got the resources to close it all up. They've engaged this turn, so they can't pass the general over. So we have to engage here. Though I suppose I didn't really have to, actually. I could have waited. Because he's got my troops in check there with his chariots. I feel a bit aggrieved after that, after all said was done. I was so close to the 20%. But it wasn't to be. Let's end this. I would have laughed at that and settled it. Wow, they just can't stop losing, can they? And he would have sealed that off, but I would have eventually got cavalry around the side, made infantry around the side if my warband had held out. Well, Pompey's always been fairly. Well, Pompey has proven himself to be a fearsome skirmisher. He's pulling it back at the moment. If this would have been a really tense and exciting game. Yeah, I actually think he would have won this long term, possibly. Oh, I can't make that call. Remember, we've got the mess in the mountain as well. Well, that would have been kind of bad for him in the long term because I could have turned around and flanked him. Yeah, he's obviously getting a breakthrough with his cavalry there. I have a few, and he's managed to maul my cavalry over here. Probably would have eventually got to these units too. And of course he's just freed up his units, so they could have turned back to the battle now. And that's of course exactly what he does. And they come back at light speed. So we're forced to retreat. He just managed to beat me on that last turn, because of course it's a draw, but it's 1% in his favour. So well done, Pompey. I'll give you the victory there. You won. And yeah. Well, that was interesting. We were discussing it in the chat. Apparently, Pompey expected me to make a run for these hills, but I wouldn't have wanted to fight in this hill country in any way. It's closer to his side of the field than it was to mine, so I figured that I had to deploy in a very defensive formation, take this area of ground first, and then start to envelop the hill. So that kind of worked. I did manage to beat aside his cavalry here and turn around, but I mean, let's look at this as it goes through. I think I was starting to get the upper hand in this situation, because I would have got a couple of flank attacks or at least some breaks here, and this situation is rough though. I could possibly have destroyed the Samnite foot with time, and this unit could possibly have survived for long enough that I could get to flank in this superior warband. That's bad. That's very bad. Those horsemen are finished. But on the other hand, if that Samnite foot is committed, then but then these cavalry would have come back, and I would have had to block them off, and they would have kept these units in check. And he's got these chariots looking here, so it would have then come down to what he could have done with his cavalry here, because those chariots would have cancelled one another out. It depends how the dice would have fallen, but if I could have broken here, I could have potentially tried to protect my back line against these cavalry coming through. And then I could probably have transferred my victorious troops over here, but then he would have had a little bit of time to make use of this force here. Who knows how it would have gone. That was a really interesting, and I'm really happy that I got a chance to demonstrate an assault on a difficult position like this, even if we didn't have time to follow it through to the end. So thank you very much for that, Pompey, for another brilliant game there. And I hope to play you in future matches. I'm sure I'll meet you on the battlefield at some point. For now, I've been Napoleon Complex. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next one. Farewell. And let's include the end screen. And my casualties were more severe, so there we go. Okay. Adios.